that our lecture is well trimmed, right? The wings of our lecture is well trimmed, and we need to make sure that our wings or our lecture is well pruned, right? And everything is just well set. Our technology is allowing us to actually continue on, proceed with the lecture. And then after that, we need to lay a very good background, okay, on this lecture. Because if you don't understand this lecture, it will be tough for us to actually unveil the secrets on the other coming lectures. Remember that this lecture is based on unveiling the man of sin. And as we are about to unveil the man of sin, we first have to discuss some critical important things before. We have to lay a beautiful background so that when we unveil the man of sin, you would understand where we come from, right? The century truth. Now, the reason why I've entitled this lecture as the century truth, I've came to understand that it is of critical importance that Christianity or Christendom at large, they need to understand the importance and the significance of the century truth. Because the century truth, it is the foundation of the plan of redemption, of God saving mankind. Remember in the book of Genesis, right, where man fell to sin. And now God sends his son Christ to actually save mankind. Right? And there are some important things that we're going to digest and see on what's actually happening when this plan of redemption is actually in process. Okay, so it's of critical importance that we have this background of the century truth, simply because we will be based on our core verse, right, found in the book of Daniel chapter 8 verse 14. And he said unto me, for unto 2,300 prophetic days, then shall the century be cleansed. And that's the most important prime verse we're going to take a close look. Because these lectures or these series of lectures that I've actually compiled, they boil up to unveil the ending of the cleansing of the century. So we first need to understand the secret word here is the word century. Or hence the Bible calls it in three ways: sanctuary, tabernacle, or the temple. Right? But as far as the book of Daniel chapter 8 is concerned, it says the sanctuary. So if we need to understand the cleansing, we need to understand the beginning or the starting point of the sanctuary about to be cleansed, and the ending or when the sanctuary was cleansed, we need to first have a background of the sanctuary truth, of the significance and the importance and the symbolism of the sanctuary. So we're going to dive, or we're going to indulge, or we're going to entice ourselves with this lecture in three ways. One, we'll be asking the Bible whether is everything according to what it says. Right? We are going to ask the Bible, did you or are you indoctrinating Christendom or ethnology about the century truth? Two, Bible, do you okay, let me start all over. One, we are simply going to say, or we're simply going to ask a question to the Bible or to the two witnesses. Two witnesses or Bible or scripture, do you recognize one, right? Do you recognize what we call the sanctuary or the tabernacle, right? Or the temple? And the Bible needs to give us an answer, and a clear answer, whether it recognizes the Bible, whether it indoctrinates a ethnology or Christendom at large about the sanctuary, right? Two, Bible, what is the significance of the sanctuary? Pardon me. What is the significance